So, what if the lines between life and death got blurry? Imagine a place where a graveyard isn't spooky, but it's a sanctuary, and a whole community of ghosts decides to raise a living, breathing little boy. That's the wild and wonderful world of Neil Gaiman's The Graveyard Book, and it is a coming-of-age story like you've never seen before. Let's dive into how it literally takes a graveyard to raise a child. There was a hand in the darkness, and it held a knife. I mean, talk about an opening line, right? With just a few simple words, Neil Gaiman just throws us right into the deep end. This isn't just a sentence, it's a warning. It's a promise that things are about to get very strange, very dangerous, and the normal rules, they just don't apply here. So, the story kicks off, and it is fast and it is brutal. Picture this. Inside a house, a killer known only as the Man Jack is finishing some terrible work. But his last target, a tiny little toddler, has already climbed out of his crib. He's just wandered out the front door, curious about the night air, and is toddling his way up a hill. And just like that, our hero's journey is on. Except, he's not really called to adventure. He's more like shoved out of his old life by this awful tragedy. And now he has to find a new one in, well, probably the last place on Earth you'd ever expect. He pushes his way through these cold iron graveyard gates and stumbles right into the arms of, well, ghosts. He's found by these two kindly spirits, Mr. and Mrs. Owens. But they're not alone. Suddenly, the shimmering ghost of the boy's own mother appears, and she's desperately begging them, "Protect my baby," because the man with the knife, he's climbing the graveyard wall right now. Think about this for a second, this incredible flip. For this little boy, the world of the living, our world, is where the monster is. It's a place of pure danger. But the world of the dead, the place we're all supposed to be scared of, that becomes his only hope for safety. The whole community of ghosts has a choice to make. Are they really going to take in a living child? And they do. Moved by his mother's plea, the ghosts make a choice that completely changes everything for this kid. He officially crosses a threshold, leaving the world he was born into and joining a family and a community that is truly one of a kind. So his new family is, let's just say, unconventional. First, he's adopted by the ghosts of Mr. and Mrs. Owens. Then, his guardian is this super mysterious guy, Silas, who's not alive but not dead either, which means he can go into the outside world and get the kid food. And then, and this is the amazing part, the entire ghost population of the graveyard gives him the freedom of the graveyard, basically making him an honorary citizen. And this line from Silas, man, it just says it all. The other ghosts are wondering, can two ghosts really raise a living child? And Silas just lays it out. No, it's not just about two parents. To keep this boy safe, to teach him everything he needs to know, it's going to take everyone. It's going to take the whole graveyard. Okay, so new life, new name, right? The ghosts are trying to figure out what to call him, and Mrs. Owens just looks at him and says, he looks like nobody but himself. And it sticks. He becomes Nobody Owens. Bod, for short. It's the perfect name for a boy who belongs nowhere, and because of that, now belongs right here. So Bod's got a home. Now he's got to grow up, and his childhood is full of lessons and challenges. But his classroom is made of tombstones, and all his teachers are ghosts. And this education is going to shape every single thing about the man he becomes. And the years just fly by. We see Bod go from this curious toddler to a really thoughtful kid. He even makes a friend from the outside world, a living girl named Scarlett. He learns some pretty tough lessons from a teacher named Miss Lupescu, who is way more than she appears to be. He even tries to go to a normal human school for a bit. But the whole time, that shadow from his past, the man Jack, is always there, getting closer. I mean, just look at the difference here. While other kids are learning their ABCs from a book, Bod's learning to read from headstones that are hundreds of years old. Forget math and science. He's learning supernatural skills, how to fade so no one can see you, how to haunt, how to literally walk through people's dreams. This is an education for a world that most of us don't even know exists. And he is going to need every single one of those skills, because the past is not dead and buried, not by a long shot. The story is building to this massive showdown because the man Jack, the killer who started all of this, is finally coming back to finish the job. And here's the twist. The man Jack, he wasn't working alone. Turns out he's part of an ancient secret society called the Jacks of all Trades. And get this, there was a prophecy that a child who could walk between the living and the dead would destroy their order. They think that child is Bod. So now, It's not just one man coming for him, it's all of them. But this is the moment everything changes. Bod is not that helpless toddler anymore. He stands on his home turf, the graveyard, and he issues a challenge. He's not running, he's not hiding. He's turning the graveyard into his fortress, his weapon. The hunted has just become the hunter. And this is where his whole life of training pays off. Bord becomes the master of his domain, picking off the jacks one by one. It's genius. He tricks 3 of them into something called a ghoul gate, basically a one-way ticket to another dimension. He gets the whole ghost community to help him trap another jack in an ancient, sealed tomb. And for the grand finale, he faces the man-jack himself, luring him into an ancient barrow where a mysterious creature called the Sleer claims him forever. So he won. The bad guys are gone. But victory always has a price. And this one is pretty bittersweet. Because now that he's defeated his enemies and fulfilled his purpose there, his connection to the graveyard, it starts to break. And it's kind of heartbreaking, actually. The more he grows up and becomes part of the living world, the less he can see the world of the dead. His freedom of the graveyard is fading. His family, his friends, everyone who raised him, they're starting to look like old, faded photographs. The very place that kept him safe is now a world he has to leave. As he's getting ready to go, his ghost mom, Mrs. Owens, sings him a final lullaby. It's one she used to sing when he was a baby, but she could never remember the end. Well, now she does. And the final lines are this beautiful, powerful blessing for his future. It's just an incredible goodbye. And so, Bod's hero's journey comes to an end. In the graveyard, anyway. The elixir, the treasure he brings back to the world of the living, it isn't some magic sword or anything. It's his own life. It's his future, and all the wisdom he learned from his strange, loving, ghostly family. To really, truly live, he has to leave the only home he's ever known. You know, in the end, if you strip away all the ghosts and the magic, the Graveyard Book is really asking a question we all have to face. What is home? It reminds us that home isn't just a building, it's the community that shapes you and the love that protects you. And that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say goodbye to the place that raised you so you can step into the world that's waiting. Which really leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What does it truly mean to leave home and find your place in the world?